If someone offered you an apology in 1611, they weren't necessarily saying they were sorry. In the 17th century, the word carried its original Greek meaning, a formal, aggressive legal defense. For women in Jacobean England, the need for such a defense was absolute. Legally and socially, they were restricted to a secondary status, with every law and custom rooted in the unquestionable authority of the Bible. The theological indictment used to justify this was the story of the fall. Because Eve was the one to accept the forbidden fruit, the patriarchy argued that all women inherited her guilt, and therefore her requirement to be ruled by men. To challenge female oppression in 1611, you couldn't rely on political theory. You had to cross-examine the book of Genesis and win. This is the task Aemilia Lanyar set for herself. Her 1611 masterwork is, on its face, a religious poem detailing the passion and crucifixion of Jesus Christ. But as the narrative reaches the trial of Christ before Pontius Pilate, Lanyard halts the chronological progression. She steps into the poem to stage a rhetorical intervention. Adopting the voice of Pilate's wife, Lanyard disrupts the trial. She pivots the scene from a judgment of Christ into a formal legal defense of Eve, and by extension, all women. Lanyard's strategy is to dismantle the logic of the patriarchy, using the same holy text they used to build it. Lanyard begins by reclassifying Eve's actions. She argues that the bite of the apple was not a malicious rebellion against God, but a simple mistake born of ignorance. The poem describes Eve as simply good, making her the ideal target for a supernatural serpent that used premeditative cunning to orchestrate a trap. According to Lanyer, Eve's motive was actually too much love. She didn't want to hoard the fruit's knowledge. She wanted to share her discovery with Adam. Lanyer establishes Eve as a well-meaning victim of a supernatural setup, stripping away the image of the malicious architect of sin. The defense then turns its focus toward Adam. Lanyer highlights a contradiction. The patriarchy claimed Adam was the superior being, the Lord and King of all the earth. Genesis shows Adam received the command about the tree directly from God, long before Eve was created. Adam held primary responsibility. Contrasting their falls, Eve was deceived by a supernatural entity, while Adam was simply handed fruit by his wife. This creates a logical problem for the claim of male superiority. If Adam possessed the greater intellect and superior strength, his failure to stop the fall becomes an indictment of his own judgment. Lanyard points out that Adam took the fruit as from a learned book, willingly accepting what Eve offered, despite his direct knowledge of the command. Lanyer concludes that because Adam was the superior being with direct knowledge of the law, his failure was a conscious breach of duty. This makes him more culpable than the woman he blamed. The poem then returns to the trial of Christ, connecting the Garden of Eden to the men standing before Pilate. Lanyer compares the two crimes, Eve's accidental sin of ignorance versus the men's premeditated choice to torture and execute the innocent Son of God. The math is clear. Compared to the crucifixion, Eve's sin is a minuscule star against the burning sun of male malice. By committing the ultimate sin, men forfeited their moral standing and the religious authority to rule over women. This leads Lanyer to her final demand: then let us have our liberty again. She follows this with an explicit call to dismantle male rule, insisting that men challenge to yourselves no sovereignty. Lanyer was articulating a vision of shared authority and female autonomy centuries before the organized suffrage movements of the 19th and 20th centuries. Eve's apology functions as a forensic masterclass. By turning the logic of the Bible against itself, Lanyer stripped the religious justification from female subjugation and treated the Garden of Eden like a crime scene where the wrong person had been convicted.